Hi, this is Sean with Mortgage Audits Online. We're doing this webinar tonight with the interview with a great homeowner client of ours that has used the report, and she's happy with the results. I believe her case is ongoing. We are, for certain reasons, we all going to be using a nickname for her for privacy reasons, things of that nature. But she was kind enough to come on here and talk about her experience and give her opinion about the report. As you know, there are just different conversations out there about the securitization audit reports and about the mortgage audit reports and things like that, which we welcome any kind of feedback out there. You know, but you have to please understand, we've been around, almost 15 years and we've done many audits. We're very versed at what we do. Our audit reports have been used all over the country. We've been approached by many different professionals over the years, and people have are happy with our reports. They've had custom requests, but as far as the retail side goes, we do have different tiers. We have different pricing, to accommodate different people, and we try to help everybody. We're the only company that has flex pay later payment plans. So we have a lot of different options on our company now. Our reports, for our auditing team, we do have the two best auditors in the country that work in this niche that work with us, and that's a fact. We have a really great team here, and we try to be accurate. We try to give you guys the highest quality reports so that you guys have the best chance. And one of the main differences with us and some of these other companies, and not to knock any other company, I mean, look, we respect everybody. We respect everybody on social media. If they have sent us referrals, thank you so much. But really, you have to understand is that we're independent. So we're an independent company. We are not tied down to anybody's social media or things like that. If people like our work and refer us people, we welcome that. And we've always welcomed that. So if somebody likes our reports, likes what we're doing, great. Please, we welcome the referrals. Now, one of the main differences with our company is that, like, for example, our premium package and pretty much all our packages across the board, our report packages is a multi-report package. So you're not only getting just one report. Like there were companies in the past that would just give you one report, one affidavit. Okay. We're different. We give you multiple reports. So you're getting a multi-report set, which all counteract the same debt. So for example, our premium level 3 mortgage audits, it's basically you get five separate reports. So it's five standalone reports and two expert witnesses. You have the main expert witness, which is fully notarized, certified, bonded, insured, and then you have a secondary expert witness. And the main expert witness is an ex-banker, and we have an ex-banker purposely because think about it. If you are disputing something with the bank, or there's a case, a mortgage fraud case, do you think the attorney on the bank side really wants an ex-banker testifying against the system or the systematic ways that they do things? The opinion is, of course not. Of course, that's going to push them in a direction that we want the consumer to go in to benefit the consumer. So, it's like kind of like when you have a ballistic expert or an expert in, how cars are designed that testify in a car accident case. They know that person is an expert in the system. So basically, there are you have to understand those things and the fact that yes, we do have a turnaround time. However, sometimes the reports, the research can take a little longer. So yes, there are some people that are still waiting, and that's because we're trying to be accurate. Sometimes you get the GSE loans that require more digging. So those type of cases, you're right, there are some people that are still waiting. However, they will receive their reports. It's not like they're not going to receive their reports. Sometimes because we're trying to be accurate, we're trying to give them the best shot in the report, we have to pay more for the data, and that's why sometimes the pricing is different, and sometimes there's alterations on the pricing. However, we do give everybody a discount. We do have payment plans. We have flex pay. We work with people, so regardless, we try to work with you guys. Just be careful with some of the stuff you hear online and some of the things. Like for me, for instance, I am, the CEO and senior manager of this company. However, I'm not the auditor. So we have a separate auditing team. We have an email and an address that where if they want to contact the expert witness, the banks have to go through there or the bank's attorneys. I myself do not interact with the banks at all, and I never will. I don't want it, getting around that I'm interacting with anybody from the banks, and I never have, and I never will. So, somebody out there, said something, along those lines, and I have no idea where that's coming from. If somebody is using their case in a certain way or in arbitration, they have to make sure that they're doing their due diligence, and make sure that they're directing their energy in the proper avenues. We would not risk our entire company and our entire reputation over one file. So, it's that you have to consider that, what people are saying out there, and consider it, and do your own research, and basically, we have to understand this, and we have to try to address it properly. And again, if you have those questions in the chat, you can always email us as well. Okay. If the reports need amendments or things like that, please send it to us. We have the two best auditors in the country that work with us. Okay. These are the best audits. If you guys want somebody who's going to charge you $10,000 for an audit, there are companies out there that charge upwards of $7,000. Okay. We give you something that is of value, and these reports technically are worth about $4,000 to $5,000, and we give it to you guys, at an affordable rate. If there are typos or anything like that, please contact us, and those will be amended. But however, these reports have been used in court cases, okay, and we have a handful of really big situations where people gave us some great feedback. So without further ado, I would like to have Ruth on here and basically have her go ahead and talk about her experience using the report, and her opinion on the report, and her experience with the bank. She had a big success on her end. I respect her, admire her for what she's doing. Thank you so much for coming to our aid, in a sense, in this time of different opinions. We really appreciate it. She's known me through the years as well, as I work as the CEO and senior manager of this company. So without further ado, Ruth, if you want to go ahead and take the floor and go ahead and talk about your experience today.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. And thank you, everybody, for calling back in if you did get kicked off like I did. I had left off explaining that in order to protect my house and stop the bankruptcy process, to stop the foreclosure process, I had to file for an emergency bankruptcy, and thought that I got the proof into the court on record. And I want to say something about that, let me digress for a minute. One of the things that saved me was when I went into bankruptcy, and you fill out your bankruptcy papers, there's a little section in there, and this is really critical to the future of what happens, where it asks you if you have any lawsuits, litigation, future settlements, things like that. That is where I, added a clause that I want the right to sue this bank in the future if I prove what I'm able to prove. That stupid little step that I took saved me, because I had to have that in my bankruptcy paperwork in order to be allowed to sue them after bankruptcy. Or they hide behind a little known thing called res judicata, meaning you can't litigate it again. And so by putting that clause into my bankruptcy initially when I filed, whether I sued them or not, it left the right to be able to do so. And by having that in there, when they tried to use this defense, I was able to say, nope, I retain the right to sue you. So right at the point in time, I was 31 months into my successful bankruptcy. I had proven that the big bank that I was dealing with had conducted very blatant and egregious mortgage fraud. But bankruptcy court is not the forum to try to sue these banks in. It's not favorable for you. It deals only with judicial things, and no matter what state you're in, the state always retains the right over property issues, and most civil codes that pertain to saving your home and mortgage rights are all controlled by the state. So that is the forum you want to end up in inevitably. So once I was able to prove all of this, I was ready to just get out of my bankruptcy, pay whatever the balance of my claim was, and get out of bankruptcy so that I could now sue them. And right when I did that, right when I was getting ready to do that, they had illegally transferred it unbeknownst to me. I was not notified in advance the way you're supposed to be. They transferred it, and they transferred it to a very nasty, predatory lender who predominantly managed only mortgage securitization. And they probably had bought a tranche or a pool of maybe 5,000 mortgages or more from this bank, pennies on the dime, and just thought they would just do a clean foreclose on everybody and get the money. And they didn't see me coming. That was not going to be an easy pushover. I did not walk away with my tail between my legs, believing that I was in default when I had just proved that I had grossly overpaid my mortgage company based on a fraudulent loan modification document. In fact, when I settled in bankruptcy to roll it back, they had to refund me almost $12,000 of mortgage overpayments. So to be for this lender to be claiming that I was in arrears was ludicrous, since I was just issued a refund. Of course, the refund didn't come to me. It went to the suspense account. And when this predatory banker took over, it was transferred inside of bankruptcy, and claims trading is as big as mortgage securitization. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry where they feed their mortgage pools from. So be very careful going into bankruptcy. You are not protected. You become more vulnerable. You can stop before closure, but you could also get swept up in one of these mortgage securitization tranches. And so I didn't know that's what they were about. I didn't know that my mortgage had been committed or pledged or deposited into a mortgage securitization pool. But I turned to Sean and I got these reports to see if I could find a break in title or something legitimate that would assist me. And I paid for I believe it's deluxe. Do you have a deluxe, Sean? I'm not sure of the title of it, but it's the biggest package you can get with the most reports that you can get. I wanted as much ammunition against the lenders and the banks that I could get. Know something, I've been talking to a lot of people that have been using the reports lately and that have worked with Sean. This is not your solution. Don't look at a lawyer and don't look at this report as the solution. It's more like a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. It's going to help you to navigate. It's going to give you direction of what you need to be looking at and what to research and what to get more ammunition on. It really helped me to survive the various litigation stages that you go through. And these banks, and the bank that I inevitably just settled with in mediation, they are only one of the 5 banks and people that I am litigating against. So they wanted out. They believed, after going through the demurrers and going through they tried to move it to federal court, and we had it remanded back to state court. And the demurrers that they won, I still have 22 valid claims in my litigation. My jury trial is technically slotted for July. I've been dealing with this particular situation since, wow, 5 years now. It'll be almost 5 years on this. Actually almost 7, but 5 years since I've taken action. And they're all still in it. The judge has not let any of them out, not even the so-called bona fide buyer that is not a bona fide buyer. And I can say that having these reports at every stage of litigation and court trials, information that we've gone through, I have at least been able to substantiate and submit that I had a securitization report done. It's not just me talking out my tushy. This is really legitimate. I can bring in an expert witness if I need to. I have an affidavit from an expert witness. They validated what I was concerned about, certain title transfers and transfers of assignment that did not get recorded properly. So the report itself it's a weapon, it's a tool. It helps substantiate and validate your claims. And that you're doing your due diligence as a homeowner, because it's a David and Goliath situation. You are always going to be against bigger banks. It's my attorney, God bless him, has stuck with me the whole way. And it's been me and him like Don Quixote against the windmills. We're up against 11 attorneys at one point in time, 11 big attorneys with endless pockets. I don't have endless pockets. So these reports allowed me to successfully navigate over these last few years. It hasn't gotten me my home back yet, but it is a strategic, mandatory part of what will get me my home back. And so now, in the end, we were forced, after we went through all the pretrial stages, we were forced by the judge to go into mediation, because there's so many defendants sitting on the other side of the table. He knows it's going to be very crazy going to court and going to trial and depositions with this many defendants, everywhere from the default company to the buyer to the banks to the original bank to the big bank to the servicers. They are all sitting on the other side of that table. And the biggest bank of all, the one who knew the fraud and who actually caused this to kind of start snowballing out of control, they are the only ones who came to the table at mediation. Even though everybody was supposed to, nobody wanted to validate that I had legitimate claims. They came to the table. They started negotiating. It was a long, arduous day, but they were serious. They wanted out. That's what I know. They did not want to go to trial. It was going to cost them millions of dollars, each of the banks. It's going to cost them millions of dollars to take this all the way to trial. And they did not want to go to trial. They did not want this getting public. So they wanted to settle. And we settled for what I considered to be reasonable. Certainly not what I would have gotten if I went all the way to trial with them. But what it did for me is it gave me some working capital because they put me out of business and I have no source of income. I've been dispossessed of my home and my belongings and everything I know. And I've been a very disadvantaged situation to try to fight these banks. And that's what they try to do. They try to squeeze you long enough and hard enough so that you run out of resources or your attorney throws in the towel or you just end up with absolutely no recourse against them. So having these reports to me was part of the shield that I needed strategically to be able to withstand the duration that they can make this go. And then staying the course, just stay the course. But even with my attorney, if I did not personally do the research and dig and try and find what I needed, I don't, even having the attorney wouldn't have helped me. So don't think that an attorney is going to come in and save your house, or don't think that this report is going to save your house. It's a part of what you have to do to fight the big banks and to fight these egregious, lenders and servicers and mortgage securitization banks, because there are millions of us, millions, I'm not kidding you, millions of homeowners who have lost their home this way. And it's really tragic and it's really sad. And it's part of why I'm willing to get on this webinar and just help as many people as I can and tell you that it is absolutely a necessary part of what you need to be able to go any step further to try and fight for your rights. We have the rights, but there is nobody judicially enforcing them against the banks. So while the laws exist and while your rights exist, there's nobody speaking on your behalf. So if you want to win this, you've got to get in the trench. You've got to be willing to fight with everything you have. And that's what I'm doing. That's all I do is look this up and find this stuff. And the reports gave me in the beginning the direction I needed to go in, to find the things that were missing in the report, to find the things that you need. I use a technology of just reverse engineering. I try to find out the cases where people have won, and where they have won, what did they win with? And what did it take to get that information? And so I work backwards from there to make sure that I have it. And part of it is substantiating your claims. And so when this big bank settled, I can't tell you the name of the bank yet. I can tell you that they settled for 6 figures. It's not enough. Not near enough for what I've gone through, what I've lost, but it's enough to allow me to hire the expert witnesses that I need. It's allowed me to survive this financially and just be able to keep a roof over my head and take care of myself and take care of my lawyer finally, who stuck with me as long as he did. So by settling with them, mostly the most important part is this bank would never have made an offer to me if I didn't have a legitimate claim. And it is the first time in 5 years that I've been validated that I have a legitimate claim. And now the other co-defendants, they even tried to block me from getting the settlement, trying to drag that bank back into the litigation so they would have to share inevitably in the end what's going to be paid out, which will be in 8 figures, not 6. And so I'm really happy that I settled with them, not for the amount. I mean, 6 figures sounds like a lot, but when you had a home worth 900,000, it's not a lot. And when you've been dispossessed of your ability, I work from home. I'm self-employed and have been my whole life. My business was lucrative enough that I could support myself and pay my mortgage, despite what they say. And they have thrown me into a whirlwind of life. Emotionally and physically, I don't know that I've recovered. Mentally, I'm coming back, and this litigation, the mediation part of it with one defendant, gave me enough to make it through trial now. And now they know that I have the financing to get through trial. And by that bank settling with me, they know they're in trouble. And I don't think I could have done it without having these reports. I'm not saying the reports won it for me. The reports got me to where I need to be so that I can win it, get my house back free and clear, and retire. I'm going to retire. If I survive this, I'm going to retire. But there's a Sean, I think I gave you the link. There's a documentary out by somebody who went through this, who is a news journalist who took 20 years of research and put it
Yeah,
together.
yeah. There's a good documentary. You could
And
recommend
it's
it.
called
Mhm.
thecontv.com.
Mhm.
Please, please see the 5 episodes. It will really explain what's happening. And inevitably by watching that and having Sean's reports, I have learned that my mortgage was deposited into a mortgage security pool in 2018. And if I can prove that now and get the mortgage securitization verification that my mortgage went into that pool, all of these transfers of assignment and everything they're trying to say happened, that all happened after the fact. That means that my title was voided in 2018. And so then everything else has to be completely rescinded and undone. The bona fide buyer will never be able to perfect, title. The mortgage lender will never be able to perfect title, and everything they did is illegal. But I couldn't have gotten to the point of even being able to investigate this and look at this and research it to find this out. But the mortgage pool, and you have to find your mortgage pool online yourself, that mortgage pool and the PSA, the servicing agreement in there, it says when that pool closes, and your mortgage deed has to be in there free and clear to be legitimate, or they violated SEC rules, and now you're looking at a RICO case, which is probably what we're looking at, which is why my name is anonymous right now, just to keep myself safe, because I'm pulling people's covers that I never even knew I had to pull. And this is going to involve the DOJ and the FBI and the FTC and the California Attorney General. I have the ombudsman working with me. It's much, much bigger than I ever thought. All I did was go into this to save my home that I loved and miss and I want back. And I'm so angry to the illegal things that the banks get away with and the things that they do. I mean, they
Yeah.
have no problem forging
Uh,
documents. They have no problem making fake
Have you
documents.
have you seen that movie, The Rainmaker with Matt Damon with the
Yeah.
case? You remember that part when you how the insurance companies were purposely shuffling
Yes.
people's claims for the medical in the movie.
Yes.
So the loving mother's son, I believe he was in his 20s, they filed a claim for a bone marrow transplant, and they kept shuffling their paperwork and getting denied. And then later in the trial, when Matt Damon was playing the attorney, it was found out that it was policy of the actual insurance company where they have different departments at war with each other, so that they could shuffle the paperwork, shuffle people's claims, and eventually where the
That's what they're
person would
doing.
give up. And it was a purposely done against the consumer. So, when you say those things, and I've heard stories where people try to get loan mods and the type of things that they went through. And that was one of the reasons why I really enjoyed getting into the industry, because I enjoyed defending people, kind of like Robin Hood and defending the weak against the strong, you know.
It really is. It
Yeah,
really is. And there is an underground movement. There is a
yeah,
network of attorneys who are just so angry at
yeah.
these banks. And I have a wonderful, wonderful expert witness who was supposed to be my attorney. And this is a sad story. I mean, he's famous for something where his poor neighbor was a veteran who was disabled, and his poor neighbor was being wrongly foreclosed upon by Wells Fargo. And that's because they had a typo. They got his address mixed up with the actual person's condo. And so he asked this attorney, would you please help me get this straightened out? The attorney thought, oh, it's a typo. We'll just go into court and we'll let the judge and Wells Fargo know that they've got the wrong house and we'll get this fixed. No problem. So he absolutely agreed to help his neighbor, and they went into court. And as typical in what happens in the courts now with the judges, they ruled against the attorney and the client and his client and his neighbor, and ruled against him. And this is the typo. This guy was current. He was no arrears whatsoever, and it affected the client so badly he actually like stood up, had a heart attack, and he died on the courtroom floor. Became very famous, that Wells Fargo became famous for death by foreclosure. And if you Google that, you will find the case that I'm referring to. He became so angry, he went into full on battle against the banks. He wasn't afraid to take them on. Most attorneys won't. He got burned out doing it, so he doesn't focus on that anymore, but was thrilled to come back in to be an expert witness for me because these banks do get away with murder, literally and figuratively. And so everything that I have found starting with the reports, it gave me a map, a roadmap as to what to look at and what to go deeper into. And that's important to know, is that having this is it legitimizes your claims. And it certainly inevitably brought me to success with a six-figure outcome, which is more than the other 5,000 people that got foreclosed upon at the same time were able to do. I am an anomaly in California. I will be probably one of the first people to take it this far. I'm definitely going to be one of the first people to go after somebody post COVID, because a lot of this happened because the courts were closed during COVID. While there was a moratorium on foreclosure, there was a moratorium on evictions. And yet, the day that California was in its purple tier, so that was November of 2020, the day that I was foreclosed upon was a day that we were mandated into lockdown by Governor Newsom, and only essential workers and helpers and first responders were supposed to be out in the public. And where was I? I found myself with a lease penance in my hand, driving down to an illegal foreclosure. My attorney and I arrived at the foreclosure in the public forum out in the park behind the courthouse. There were two auctions going on, so much for the moratorium. Nobody was enforcing it. And I arrived just at the tail end of my home being bid upon, right at the tail end of it, for a very deficient amount of money, like less than half of what my home was worth. And then we walked up to the potential buyers, bona fide buyers, and said, you don't want to buy this house. It's in litigation and title's being challenged, and you do not want to be in this litigation. And they, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I said, okay, that's your call. We gave them an option to sit with us and go against this big bank. They decided to be on that side of the table with the big bank. Now that big bank has managed to buy their way out of being in the lawsuit, and they're left holding a very big, serious situation. And the irony is, they're more worried about the lawsuit that's coming from the people they illegally sold my home to, than what's coming from this lawsuit. That's their mistake. Chances are they won't be in business by the time the whole thing is done. But they did illegally sell my house, and they sold it with a lease penance in place. So all these things that we think protect us from it going any further or getting any worse, it doesn't. And starting with the report, the sooner you can get these reports and find the misgivings, the title transfers that are illegal, those are the things you have to challenge all along the way and stay the course. You really have to stay the course. And so, I highly recommend it. There are a lot of very, very illegitimate companies out there doing this that have very bad reputations, who did take advantage of homeowners in trouble. It's just with Sean's company, with MOA, they've been around more than 10 years. So they have been around a very long time, and give you very legitimate reports. They don't necessarily find everything, but you can also have your report redone. Like now, I'm 4 years into it, and because I found out about the mortgage securitization, I'm going through the process again and ordering a new updated audit because of more information that I found since I initially did this. So you're better to have them in your court than not have anything. It is a very strong, substantial documentation verification with an affidavit from a prospective witness, and he will be an expert witness in my trial as well. So I can't recommend them enough, but I can't tell you guys that be prepared to fight, but fight, because it's all illegal. It's all illegitimate. And if you guys have any questions about this process, you're welcome to ask me. I don't know if there's anything else I can add, Sean.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, no, thank you so much for mentioning that, and I've been in this industry for quite a while, and I fell in love with the industry. I fell in love with helping people. Obviously, we have a process, we have an auditing team, we have processors, we have an expert witness, we have expert witness that can testify, but usually the affidavits are enough. But we're the main company, and I just want people to understand that we're the main company for a reason. We've survived the waves. We've survived people, popping up out of nowhere and just trying to set up shop or coming online and things like that. And we have a clientele base, and we have happy customers like Ruth here. And so you have to consider that, especially in a time where there's just different opinions, and you have to consider, okay, what exactly am I ordering here? What exactly, how am I going to use this? And how am I going to use this as leverage? As you see here with this testimonial and with this happy client we have and an ally of our company, you see, how well she articulates what she did. So I think education is really important. And that's one of the reasons why I give our free course away for free. And it has templates and forms on there. But one of the things, what the vision of my company was, we treat everybody well. Everybody's a valued client. Everybody is important to us. Obviously, I give people my cell phone, even being the senior manager and CEO. However, you guys have to understand when there's a lot of people texting me, it's going to take me some time to get to you. We have other staff that can accommodate you and things like that. But I do recommend once you get the report, I do highly recommend that you go in the referral network and you start contacting the people on the referral network and also going on the community forum. We're also trying to get some homeowners and some people on there that have direct experience to post their experiences on there and to help answer questions as well. We're working on that as well. But really, it's like once you get the report, try to take the report, run with it, and do your part as well. Because remember, we're giving you the tools, and we're there with you in the fight, but we all have to work together. And I think that's one of the really the important things. I mean, we're always innovating. We're always, looking for new ways to improve the reports. We welcome feedback. If you have a question about the report or if you want something amended or changed, please let us know. We're here to help, and as a company, and really as a people person that I am, I like to be there in the trenches and I like to help people and I like to give value to my clients and I love getting great feedback. But with that, I definitely thank you, Ruth, for coming on here and sharing your experience. If there's any
I just sent
questions,
you the link, so maybe if you can post that for the people that were able to hear that link to the contv.com, I think that's
yeah, oh, the
really
documentary.
helpful. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
helpful for
absolutely.
really
Yeah,
understanding how deep it goes and how far it goes. And it's a little mind blowing, but it kind of gives you
well,
the
if you,
fight.
well, if you have it, you could post it in the chat if you would like.
Let me see if it'll
Yeah,
post. Hang on a second. Let
but
me pull.
or just type it. Let me type it in there. What's the name of it?
Yeah, I send it to you. I sent it to you on your phone, on the phone
Okay,
text.
sure.
So if you can copy that, and
Yeah, we can post it in the chat
I
here.
mean,
This
that's
is a
just, yeah.
documentary that she recommends. I have not seen it, so I cannot make a recommendation, but
Ooh,
it sounds great.
I was
You
going to
got
make a documentary. I don't need to make one now. Mine will be a movie of the week.
so it's on TV. Um, but just keep in mind I have not watched this, but it sounds great.
It's free. You simply need to log in with your email and then you're given access to it. And it's 5 parts. Each part is about 45 minutes long. And those that I've shared it with, I've said, if you watch one a day, they sat down and every person I've sent it to watches all 5. Like they've got to get to the end of it because it's bigger than any of us thought. It's really much
Yeah,
bigger than what.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, exactly. Is there anything else that you can add in there as far as, how you recommend or how you have seen people use the reports or, stories that you've heard that you
So the
can?
people that I've talked to, the clients of yours, the people that I've been able to speak to, again, having the reports, especially the forensic audit itself, that shows the title. The title is obviously the one way we can challenge this and win. So it's critical to have as much evidence and as much information and intel that you can to prove that something wasn't transferred properly, something wasn't signed properly, something wasn't done correctly. That is how you're going to be able to attack the circumstances that you're in. And it's very hard since the burden of proof is on us, the homeowner, to try to prove something was wrong. That's what you need. And so this is one thing you could get. How do you get that information otherwise? Well, you start with somebody like Sean, who can give you as much information to start with to give you the ability to look further and to go deeper and to try to find more information on that topic. So anything that Sean's auditor can find that's inconsistent or not congruent with the way things are supposed to be transferred in whatever state you're in, especially California, there are a lot of homeowner rights. I mean, the right to sue for wrongful foreclosure. You know, I always thought I'm just going to sue for wrongful foreclosure. Well, you can't unless you've been foreclosed on. So you can't do it before you're foreclosed, even if you're in foreclosure. Until they physically foreclose, you don't have the right to foreclose. And they used to be able to remove us from the title immediately. And so by the time you got to court to fight a wrongful foreclosure, the bank simply said, well, they've got no more rights to this property. They don't have a right to be suing us in court. And so I didn't understand that when they take you off title, you lose the rights to defend your home. Um, it only happened in 2018. It happened the year after this started for me, that Wyanova here in Northern California was able to prove that we should have standing to be able to challenge the title even after the foreclosure occurs, because there's so many illegalities going on that we have to be able to bring that into court and show the judge and show the courts. The judges on the civil level are very naive when it comes to what's going on in the background of mortgage securitization. They honestly just believe the banks most of the time, and that the homeowner was in the wrong and the homeowner didn't pay. I paid my mortgage for 35 years. I had equity. I had 5 lenders that were happy to refinance me if the lender I was with didn't give me a loan modification. And so I had a lot of recourse to save my home. I could have just simply just paid the fictitious amount of money they said I owed. They didn't give me the chance to do that. And that's what awoke me. And so looking to find out why they were so eager to foreclose. Was there gold underneath my house? What was it? Did they need to do fracking? You know, and as it turned out, it was because probably they deposited it into the mortgage security pool, which they have to have clear title to do, and nothing was transferred. So most likely they probably filed with fake documents saying they had title, put my mortgage into a mortgage pool, thinking I would nobody's ever going to fight it. And a year later, I'm fighting it, and I'm still fighting it. And they didn't want me to. They didn't want me to find out what I found out. And so having the ability and the reports to buy time and to get more information and to know where to look or to know what transfer didn't occur, it's kept me in the fight. It really has. And so I can say that using the reports as a launching pad, if nothing else, a diving board to get into it. Nobody in none of the banks, none of the litigant, none of the defendants refuted anything in these reports over the 5 years, knocking wood, that nobody's challenged it. I've had it. It's been submitted as evidence. It's evidence that's public knowledge that I've submitted these exhibits as evidence, and I've submitted every one of the reports I received. And for lack of anything else, what else, you know, in the absence of that, what else would I have to help substantiate my claims without having it, whether you think it's valid enough or it gives enough information, isn't as important as showing that you have information on the topic and that you can, you know, given the chance to get all the way to a trial, you can prove that the bank has done something wrong or something illegitimate. But you need the time and the space to do that. And if you don't fight them and you don't have ammunition to fight them with, they're going to win every time. And we're just going to disappear. And they've done this for 20 years now, easily, since the bubble
Yeah.
burst.
Absolutely, and that's so important to understand that and know that that ammunition that you have, that report that gives you that baseline, that gives you the
Yeah.
defense. I've seen situations where the report was submitted and then the bank's attorneys they offered to settle because obviously the fraud and the information in there,
Yep.
but not only that. I mean, let's face it, some of these reports are like 70 pages long. So
Yep.
do you really think they want to sit there and go through all that? I mean, obviously they're aware of what we do. They're aware of this industry. So, if they're at that point where, they are, let's say they need something to push them in the right direction to settle, or they need something to, give them that incentive, what that report and that affidavit, once they see that, well, that's your opinion of what do you think is going to happen. I've seen situations where, they've been in court for a while and then they submit the report and suddenly they offer to settle. So, that's
I can just add, sorry to interrupt, John. I can
sure,
just
sure, go
add, I
ahead.
can tell you that since we settled with the one defendant, we have learned, and we've heard
And,
this
and
from,
and I'm sorry, you wanted to mention it was a six-figure settlement, right?
it was a six-figure
Right.
settlement.
Okay.
It was
I'm,
six
I'm
figures.
glad.
It was six figures,
Makes me
but it
happy. That
was,
makes me so happy. That gives me joy when I hear that.
yeah, I would like, and again, my attorney twist my arm to settle with them because I
Uh,
didn't want to let anybody off the hook now that I've learned what I've learned. But
right.
at the same time, I wouldn't have been able to go any further. I wouldn't have been able to keep my attorney and go to trial. And that's what they were counting on. And they thought, well, in solidarity as defendants, if they all stayed together and stayed the course and didn't substantiate anything and didn't give me anything, they would be able to squeeze me out. And they probably could have. Demoralized enough that I probably would have just disappeared. But this really validated that I do have claims because we have heard from other lawyers and paralegals and people in the industry and in the banking industry say that bank doesn't give six figures for nothing, honey.
Yeah, I know
They do
this is a
not
powerful.
settle. They
This
do
is
not settle. They do
and for
not.
you guys that don't know, this is a powerful bank. Okay, I was very impressed when I heard.
Yeah, it's one of the
Yeah,
top five, I can tell you.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
probably one that many of you are wrestling with. And
Very
so,
big, very
you
big.
know, that I can, they're very, very, very well-known bank. And it's not a,
Very well known. I just drove by one today on my way to the other bank, as we
yeah, I drive by them all the time and flip them off
right.
every time. But you know what?
Yeah.
The thing is they settled. And so here we were. And then they tried to block the settlement. So all of a sudden, this big bank was sitting on the same side of the table as us. They were with us fighting the defendants against me not getting the settlement. They tried to block the settlement after we settled. And they can't. And the judge didn't let them, but they tried. They tried for 2 months to do that. So they got out of it, and what they got out of was having to pay me the big money at the end. And that's what they're facing. They knew that. So they had to weigh it out when they decide if they're going to go to trial or not. They look at what the cost of the trial is going to be, and they determine financially whether it's in their best interest to take it all the way or not. And in this case, it would have cost the bank probably almost $3 million just to go to trial, and then
Wow.
they still would have lost. So the bottom line is, do they want to invest 3 million and have to pay out 40, or do they want to get out for six figures? They got out cheap. They
Wow.
did. They got out cheaply, but they got out. And part of the codicil is there is enough of it's a sealed report that while I'm still in litigation, especially, I can't go to the pulpit and scream from the top of the mountain and tell everybody all these, negative things about them. But I can tell you that they settled, and that much is okay. And that much is, they don't want to be in this lawsuit at trial. They don't want to go to trial with it, which means I must have something that they don't want to be affiliated with. And that's what I'm going with. And now that leaves the other three defendants in a really precarious position, and they can't fight it. They can't fight it because now we're at discovery, deposition, and trial. Most likely the trial will get pushed. They just fired their attorney, by the way, the two defendants, that the lender and servicer just fired their attorneys and hired a new one. So they're coming into trial with an attorney that has not been participating in this process for the last 5 years. So it's really a disadvantage to them, because he's
Wow.
not going to be able to get caught up. It's taken me 5 years to find everything and uncover everything, and he doesn't stand a chance in hell of catching up to that knowledge. He even just recently, they introduced each other and my attorney and said, would we consider going to mediation again? No. No,
Wow.
the answer is no. You had your chance. And
Wow.
no, now
And
we're at trial.
and what was your experience dealing with the attorneys and whoever you were dealing with that were representing the banks?
It was hard. It's horrible. They they degrade you, they humiliate you, they make you look like the desperate homeowner who
Oh.
just couldn't pay their mortgage and is trying to milk the bank for money.
Yeah.
I literally got in trouble, big, 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 big trouble at the settlement hearing.
Mhm.
I was on Zoom, I was on mute, or at least I thought I was on mute. And so we went through the entire settlement hearing, and then their desperate attorney, the one that they just fired, she wanted to be heard one more time. And so she asked the judge if she could be heard. And she went into her spiel, demoralizing me and degrading me and talking about how I'm just clearly trying to get money out of the
The,
bank.
the the attorney's bank. The
Yeah, the
attorney's bank.
attorney's the bank's attorney got on again and had to put me down. And knee jerk reaction was, oh, F you. Only I wasn't on mute. So the attorney heard it, the judge heard it, my attorney heard it, everybody who was on that call, like you guys, all heard me say F you. And it caught her so off guard, she lost her train of thought and never was able to finish what she wanted to say.
Wow.
I got reamed from my attorney. That was my one pass. But it really irritated me that I was being represented in such a negative light, and they're against the homeowner. I mean, in bankruptcy court, the judge wouldn't give me the time of day. And now I found out how many things he did wrong, giving them the stay from relief and all of this stuff and you don't have much time in bankruptcy to appeal those things. So I have to get them overturned. I have to get some of the decisions overturned on the civil court level based on what happened in the bankruptcy level. We started in bankruptcy court, we filed in civil court. They are, as defendants, allowed to move it to federal court, which they did, and federal court moves much quicker. And so they were going to move it to federal court and ask for it to be dismissed. And we filed counter motions, and the judge in federal court actually said, no, we're not going to dismiss it. And there's no reason why she can't remand it back to civil court. So I won. That was a very big win for me. And so we won and we went back to civil court. And in the civil court, now the judge gets to hear it from beginning to end. We did immediately, that's the other thing, we did immediately file for a jury trial, because a jury trial is going to be homeowners like yourself and myself that are going to hear how this bank basically stole my home during the moratorium, threw me out on the street during COVID, during a global pandemic, without blinking an eye, and violated every
Wow.
law there was.
Well, did you say the documentary is going to be about that?
The documentary will show you how it got to this.
From
This
your
is the same
perspective?
thing. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So this is huge. And I'm, like I said, I'm probably one of the first people that survived COVID and being evicted and foreclosed upon during the moratorium in California. So the judge has a very big responsibility here to hear this all the way through. So he, as many times as the bona fide buyers keep trying to say, we're out of it. We sold the house. We have nothing to do with any of this. Yeah, they do. They never perfected title. They didn't have a right to throw me out. They didn't have a right to sell my house. And so now they're in trouble. They're in trouble because they didn't disclose it to the people who bought my home. And so those people are going to find out that they are going to lose their title, and I'm going to get my house back. And because they have to rescind it. And I'm going to get my house back free and clear, but I'm also going to get 7 or 8 figures in this
Wow.
because
That's
of what
amazing.
they've done. I don't, and again, it's very hard to survive. It's emotionally
Yeah.
and physically and financially
Absolutely.
almost impossible.
Absolutely.
But without your report, Sean, I couldn't have gotten it this far, and I wouldn't be looking at successfully turning this around and hopefully changing some laws and getting some judges' attention. So this is going to be it's going to be a precedent-setting case in that
Yeah.
hasn't been anything like it
And
ever.
and I hope and I pray that they will allow it to be public. I mean, if that's what you want, so that way,
It is public because it's civil court. So
okay. Well,
the
I mean, once
mediation
it,
settlement can't
mhm,
be publicized. It can't be publicized in a negative way. It's still
right,
public forum. And
right,
it's still going to be available to the public to be able to look up this. They're just, what's sealed is the amount and the terms. Okay.
right,
So right now, because I'm still litigating, I don't want to do anything to
right.
violate my right to that.
Absolutely.
But it's going to come out, and it's going to be pretty easy
Yeah.
to figure out. And
Yeah.
my case
And
can be looked up very easily.
wow.
I
Yeah.
If you
Wow.
Google my name and the other
Yeah, well,
defendant,
yeah. We'll get to that later, but
yep,
because the compliance reasons for
right,
this video, but that's something that we're working on with the community forum, and that's why I asked her because we're trying to get more homeowners post about their experience and also answer questions for homeowners in the same situation. So we're doing that on the community forum that we have, but that's you got to respect her a lot for coming on here with an ongoing case, and she's talking about it. Even though she can't mention the specifics and all that, which she said you can look her up. However, that's something that we have to address later, but that takes a lot of respect. I respect you a lot for that. And
thanks.
I hope that once everything is settled down and it's concluded that, we can come back on and you can maybe, you know,
Oh,
give us
trust me,
more
yeah,
I
I
mean,
will.
you've given us a lot already, but just like break it down more on what you did and what happened, and when it's all settled and you're rich and wealthy with the settlement, so that we can also spread the good news, and so people can see like, look, this is a
Yes,
successful person, and of course we want people to know that you use the report because we want people to know that, look, this report can be used, and look, she used it and she was successful. I mean, that's a fact. So, I hope that when that time comes, we can
I
give it
will.
all
I
the
mean, I want to. I
details.
want to
Yeah,
tell everybody. I want to just let people know
yeah,
that You can fight the banks. If you know something's wrong,
Yeah,
just fight it and prove it. That's all. It's
absolutely.
a fight that most people aren't prepared for. It's not
Yeah.
for the weak of heart, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much,
Thanks.
Ruth, for coming on here tonight. Thank you for all
Good
those
luck, everybody. And if
who
you
have.
really think that there's anything that I might be able to answer a question, I mean, you're welcome to reach out to Sean. And if it's something that I can answer, I'm happy to just speak to you if I can. It's not for every case necessary, but if
Absolutely.
you're in a
And
situation, I am available to discuss that. I can at
yeah,
least point you in the right direction.
and we're trying to set it up more for because we have to also accommodate her schedule and things, but we're trying to get people, like I said, on the community forum so that way, when you do respond, everybody can see it, right? So that way you're not flooded with people trying to call you, where it's like, okay, you post a response, someone has a question, and then there's a thread. So there's other feedback and input going in as well. So we're working on that for you guys and the homeowners, the clients. Please bear with us on that. But in closing, I'd like to say, thank you for everybody, you know, that have come on here. I'm sorry for to the one um in the chat. Please contact us directly. Go on the website under the different packages, and it will explain that. But you can contact me directly. I can explain it to you or one of our representatives. But yeah, thank you for everybody who has come on here. And I just want to reiterate that, me as my company, I am for the people. We've been around a very long time. We are here to stay. Okay, we do support people if they have an issue with their situation or their case. We do support the affidavits and ongoing cases, arbitration, mediation. There's a lot of that, that have gone around in the country. And I myself, am for the people. So basically me, I do not interact with anybody at the banks. I only interact with my clients and my clients situations, and I'm on the people's side. So please, you guys, if you guys hear anything out of the box, please understand. I have always been for the people. She's here to vouch for me. I continue to keep contact with her, and I like keeping contact with all my clients. But however, please keep in mind there is a lot of people that try to reach me sometimes and try to get me to talk on their shows and things like that. So it is my schedule is very hectic sometimes. However, I do give my cell phone out away to my clients, and like I said, I am for the people. I'm there with you guys. That's how my parents raised me. My father was a hardworking guy. My mother was a homemaker, and she decided to stay home and raise us, and she instilled the values in us, which I run with to this day. And that's, helping people, being kind to people, and showing compassion. And I even extend that into my business world. So please keep that in mind. I am a moral individual, and I do not make exorbitant claims. If you talk to people that have talked to me in the past, and I'm very upfront. I tell people, look, these are the different packages, and these are what other people have done with these, and then we have a referral network that can help you after the fact. I'm very upfront. I'm not on, different social media platforms making exorbitant claims or things like that. We're very upfront. We're a legitimate auditing firm. You come to us for the information and the reports, and that's what we give you. But thank you for all those on tonight. This will be posted on the Mortgage Audits Online YouTube. Please, for you guys, go on and you can go and watch the recording. We just have to clean up the some of people's personal information on here because of privacy. But this audio will be posted on there. I recommend going on there, and please feel free to share this link with your friends and family if you want to spread the good news. But my thing is with all the opinions out there right now, I appreciate you guys supporting me, and let's just continue in a positive way. So thank you to everybody, and everyone have a good night and a great weekend. Thank you.